The alarm was the worst sound Commander Vexari had ever heard in his 40 years of space travel. It was not the normal warning that told of asteroid fields or engine problems. This was the red alarm, the one that meant death was coming. He stood at the center of the bridge of his ship, the gentle current, and watched his crew fall apart around him. The young communications officer, Teresa, had gone pale. Her blue skin turned almost white as she stared at her screen. Navigator Dockrell, who had served with Vexari for 15 years, was shaking so badly that he had to grip his console to stay standing. "Read it again," Vexari said. His voice was calm, but inside his chest, all three of his hearts were beating too fast. The ship's computer spoke in its flat, emotionless voice. Warning. Human battlecruiser detected on approach vector. Vessel designation: USS Defiance. Current speed indicates arrival in 14 standard minutes. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. Someone behind Vexari began to cry. He did not turn to see who it was. He understood their fear. Every species in the known galaxy understood that fear. Humans. The gentle current was a trade vessel. It carried fabrics and spices and simple goods between colonies. It had no weapons beyond a small defensive laser that could barely stop a meteor. Against a human battlecruiser, they might as well throw rocks. "Commander," Teresa whispered. "What do we do?" Vexari did not answer right away. He was thinking about his family back home on Kelthia Prime, his wife, his 3 children. He had promised them he would return safely from this voyage. Now he wondered if he would ever see them again. "Can we run?" he asked Dockrell. The old navigator shook his head. "No, Commander. Human ships are the fastest in the galaxy. If they want to catch us, they will catch us. We cannot escape." Vexari closed his 4 eyes and took a deep breath. The air recyclers hummed softly. The gentle vibration of the engines moved through the floor beneath his feet. These were the sounds of his ship, his home for the past 8 years. He loved this vessel like it was a living thing. "Then we will not run," he said finally. "We will face whatever comes with dignity. We are Kelthian. We do not beg." But even as he said these brave words, his hands were trembling. The bridge crew waited in terrible silence. Minutes passed like hours. Vexari watched the scanner display as a small dot grew larger and larger. The human ship was coming fast. So very fast. "Commander," Teresa said suddenly, "I am receiving a communication signal. They are hailing us." The bridge went completely still. Even the crying had stopped. Everyone was holding their breath. "Put it through," Vexari said. There was a soft click, and then a voice filled the bridge. It was a human voice, male, deep, but not harsh. There was something almost gentle about it, which made it somehow more frightening. "Kelthian vessel Gentle Current. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the USS Defiance. Please hold your position. Do not attempt to flee. We are coming to assist. Repeat. We are coming to assist. Please respond." The message ended. The bridge remained frozen. "Assist?" Dockrell whispered. "What trick is this?" Vexari did not know. He had heard many stories about humans. Everyone had. They were the monsters that parents used to scare children into behaving. They were the nightmare that kept military commanders awake at night. But he had never heard of humans offering assistance. "Teresa," he said, "open a channel." The young officer's fingers moved across her console. "Channel open, Commander." Vexari straightened his uniform. He was not sure why. The humans could not see him yet, but it made him feel slightly braver. "USS Defiance. This is Commander Vexari of the Gentle Current. We receive your message. We are holding position." He paused, then added, "May I ask why you are approaching?" There was a brief silence. Then the human voice returned. "Commander Vexari, we intercepted an emergency signal from this sector approximately 3 hours ago. A Kelthian colony ship, called the Dawn's Hope, was attacked by pirates. The vessel is drifting without power about 6 light minutes from your current position. We are responding to render aid. Your ship is the closest vessel to the colony ship. We were hoping you might assist with the rescue operation. Vexari felt his legs go weak. The Dawn's Hope? That was a civilian vessel. It carried families, children, thousands of innocent Kelthians trying to reach a new home world. The Dawn's Hope was attacked? He asked. How many survivors? Unknown at this time, Captain Morrison replied. Long-range scans show life signs, but we won't know the full situation until we arrive. Commander, there may be injured people who need help. We have medical supplies and trained doctors. With your permission, we would like to coordinate our efforts. Vexari looked around at his crew. Their fear had changed into something else. Confusion. Uncertainty. And beneath that, something that might have been hope. You want to help our people? Vexari asked. Why? There was another pause. When Captain Morrison spoke again, his voice was softer. Because they need help, Commander. That's reason enough. The scanner display showed the human battlecruiser dropping out of faster-than-light travel. Vexari turned to look at the main viewing screen, and what he saw made his breath catch in his throat. The USS Defiance was enormous. It was easily 10 times the size of the Gentle Current. Its hull was dark, gray, and covered with scars from old battles. Weapons arrays lined its sides like the spines of some great beast. It was the most terrifying and beautiful thing Vexari had ever seen. This was a ship built for war. A ship designed to destroy. And yet its captain was offering help. Teresa spoke quietly. Commander, what should we do? Vexari stared at the massive human vessel hanging in space before them. He thought about all the stories he had heard. The warnings. The fears. Then he thought about the innocent people drifting helplessly on the Dawn's Hope. Tell them yes, he said finally. Tell them we will help. As Teresa sent the response, Vexari felt something strange in his chest. He had expected death today. He had expected violence and terror, and the end of everything. Instead, he had found something unexpected. He had found a mystery. And as the USS Defiance moved closer, its running lights glowing softly in the darkness of space, Commander Vexari realized that everything he thought he knew about humans might be wrong. While the Gentle Current waited for the human ship to dock, the crew gathered in the common room. No one wanted to be alone. Fear was easier to carry when you shared it with others. Navigator Dockrell sat in the corner, his old hands wrapped around a cup of warm tea. He had not taken a single sip. His eyes were distant, lost in memories. My grandfather met a human once, he said quietly. The others turned to listen. It was during the Draven War. The war that changed everything. Everyone knew about the Draven War. It was the event that introduced humanity to the galaxy. It was also the event that made every species afraid of them. 50 years ago, the Draven Empire was the most powerful force in known space. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They enslaved entire populations. No one could stand against them. And then, they made a terrible mistake. They found Earth. The Draven saw humans as weak. The humans had no shields on their ships. Their weapons were primitive. Their technology was 100 years behind the rest of the galaxy. The Draven Emperor ordered his fleet to claim Earth and its colony worlds. He expected an easy victory. Instead, he found hell. The first battle took place above a small human colony called New Montana. It was a farming world with only 3 million people. The Draven sent 40 warships. The humans had only 6 old vessels to defend their home. Everyone in the galaxy expected the humans to surrender. They did not. My grandfather was a merchant on a neutral station nearby, Dockrell continued. He watched the battle through long-range sensors. He said the human ships flew like nothing he had ever seen. They did not fight in formations like civilized species. They fought like wild animals. They rammed Draven vessels. They flew into weapons fire that should have killed them. Their pilots kept fighting even when their ships were burning around them. Teresa leaned forward. What happened? Dockrell's voice dropped to a whisper. The humans destroyed all 40 Draven ships. All of them. The 6 human vessels were damaged beyond repair. But their crews survived. They saved their colony. The common room was silent. That was when the galaxy learned the truth about humans, Dockrell said. They do not surrender. They do not retreat. When you threaten their homes, their families, their people, they become something else. Something that does not know how to stop fighting. A young crew member named Pell spoke up. But surely they can be defeated. They are made of flesh and blood like us. Dockrell shook his head. You do not understand. I have studied humans for many years. Their bodies are different from ours. They evolved on a world of extreme conditions. Hot deserts, frozen wastelands, poison plants, and deadly animals. Everything on their home planet tried to kill them, and they survived it all. He set down his teacup and looked at the young crew with old, tired eyes. Humans can function without sleep for days. They can keep walking on broken legs. They can lose blood that would kill any of us and still fight. Their bodies produce chemicals that let them ignore pain. Do you understand what that means? You cannot break a human by hurting them. Pain only makes them angry. Teresa thought about the voice she had heard on the communication channel. Captain Morrison had sounded so calm, so normal. It was hard to imagine him as the monster Dockrell described. There is a story, another crew member said, about a human freighter captain named Ben Tucker. Others nodded. Everyone had heard that story. He was transporting medical supplies through the Velmori sector, the crew member continued. Pirates attacked his ship. They killed his crew. They thought he would surrender and let them take the cargo. Instead, he sealed himself inside an airlock and waited for them to board. When they opened the door, he was standing there with nothing but a steel pipe he had broken off a wall, just a piece of metal. The pirates had guns and knives. There were 12 of them. Tucker killed all 12. With a pipe. The Velmori security forces found him 3 days later, still guarding his medical supplies. He had 17 wounds on his body. Broken ribs. A collapsed lung. He should have been dead 10 times over. But he was still standing. Teresa felt a chill run down her spine. Why did he do it? She asked. Why not just let them take the supplies? The crew member shrugged. The medical supplies were going to a hospital. A children's hospital. Tucker said he made a promise to deliver them. Humans take their promises very seriously. Dockrell nodded slowly. That is the other thing about humans that we forget. They form bonds. Strong bonds. To their families, to their friends, to complete strangers they have never met. They will die for people they do not even know. Is that not a weakness? Pell asked. To care so much? No. Dockrell said. It is their greatest strength. Because when you threaten what they care about, they have no limits. No restraint. They will burn down the entire galaxy to protect the ones they love. The ship's intercom crackled to life. Commander Vexari's voice came through. All crew, the human vessel has extended a docking bridge. Their boarding party will arrive in 5 minutes. Please gather in the main cargo bay. The Plesiv. Teresa stood up on shaking legs. Around her, the other crew members were pale with fear. They had spent the last 30 minutes talking about human legends. Now they were about to meet real humans face to face. Perhaps the stories are exaggerated, Teresa said hopefully. Dockrell looked at her with something like pity. I hope so, young one. I truly hope so. They walked together through the narrow corridors of the gentle current. The ship felt smaller now, more fragile. Teresa kept thinking about human warships ramming into enemy vessels. About human soldiers fighting through injuries that would kill any Kelthian. About human captains killing 12 pirates with a steel pipe. The cargo bay doors opened before them. Commander Vexari was already there, standing at attention near the airlock. His uniform was perfect. His posture was straight. But Teresa could see his hands trembling slightly at his sides. The entire crew lined up behind him. 23 Kelthians waiting to meet the most dangerous species in the galaxy. The airlock light turned green. There was a soft hiss as the doors began to open. Teresa held her breath. Her heart was beating so fast she could hear it in her ears. Beside her, Pell was quietly praying under his breath. The doors opened fully, and for the first time in her life, Teresa saw a human in person. He was tall. Much taller than she expected. His skin was a warm brown color, and his eyes were dark and calm. He wore a uniform similar to theirs, but black with gold markings on the shoulders. Behind him stood two other humans. One was a female, with long dark hair. The other was a male, with short yellow hair and a friendly face. The tall human stepped forward. He looked around at the terrified Kelthian crew, and something shifted in his expression. Something that almost looked like sadness. Then he did something that shocked everyone in the room. He smiled. "Commander Vexari," he said in perfect Kelthian. "Thank you for agreeing to help. I am Captain Jake Morrison. I promise you, we mean you no harm." His voice was warm, gentle. Nothing like the monster from the stories. Teresa stared at him in confusion. This was a human? This was the terror of the galaxy? She did not understand. Not yet. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the cargo bay of the Gentle Current and tried not to notice how frightened everyone was. The Kelthian crew pressed against the walls as if trying to disappear into them. Their eyes were wide. Their bodies trembled. One young crew member was crying silently. It was always like this. Every time humans encountered other species, they saw the same fear. After 50 years, Jake had hoped things would be different. They never were. "Commander Vexari," he said gently, keeping his voice low and calm. "I want you to know that we are not here to hurt anyone. We received a distress signal. We came to help. That is all." The Kelthian commander swallowed hard. Jake could see him fighting to control his fear. It took courage to stand there when every instinct was screaming to run. "Thank you, Captain," Vexari said. His voice only shook a little. "We are grateful for your assistance." Jake nodded and turned to introduce his team. "This is Dr. Katie Reyes, our Chief Medical Officer. And this is Ryan Cole, our Security Officer. They are here to help coordinate the rescue operation." Katie stepped forward with a warm smile. She was smaller than Jake, with kind eyes and a gentle manner that had calmed countless frightened patients over the years. She raised her hands slowly, showing that they were empty. "Hello, everyone," she said. "I want you to know that I have studied Kelthian medicine. If anyone here is hurt or feeling unwell, I would be happy to help." No one moved. No one spoke. Katie did not seem bothered by this. She simply waited, her smile never fading. After a long moment, Teresa found her voice. "You speak Kelthian?" "A little," Katie admitted. "I learned it during my medical training. Your species has a fascinating biology. 3 hearts working together. It is really quite beautiful." Teresa blinked in surprise. No one had ever called Kelthian biology beautiful before. Near the airlock, Ryan Cole stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He was bigger than the captain, with broad shoulders and arms thick with muscle. His face was calm, but his eyes moved constantly, scanning the room for threats. He looked exactly like the kind of human soldier the stories warned about. Then, a small movement caught his attention. A tiny Kelthian child had wandered into the cargo bay. She could not have been more than 5 years old. Her parents must have brought her on the voyage. She had slipped away from wherever she was supposed to be and now stood in the doorway, staring at the humans with huge, curious eyes. The entire room went tense. Several crew members started to rush toward her, afraid of what the human soldier might do, but Ryan was faster. He dropped to one knee, bringing himself down to the child's level. His movements were slow and careful, like he was approaching a frightened animal. His hard face softened into something surprisingly gentle. "Hey there, little one," he said quietly. "What's your name?" The child tilted her head. She did not seem afraid. Children often had not yet learned to fear what adults feared. "Nira," she said. "That's a pretty name," Ryan replied. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, wrapped candy. "Do you like sweets, Nira? I brought some from my home planet. They're called butterscotch. Would you like to try one?" The child looked at the candy. then back at Ryan's face. She seemed to be thinking very hard. Then she smiled and reached out her small hand. Ryan placed the candy gently in her palm. There you go. Be careful, though. It's a little sticky. Boat. Nira unwrapped the candy and popped it into her mouth. Her eyes went wide with delight. It's good, she announced loudly. Ryan laughed. It was a warm, happy sound that echoed through the cargo bay. I'm glad you like it. I have more if you want them later. The child's mother had arrived by now, her face pale with terror. She scooped Nira into her arms and backed away quickly, bowing her head in apology. I am so sorry, she stammered. She wandered off. Please forgive us. Ryan stood up slowly and shook his head. Nothing to forgive. She's a brave kid. You should be proud. The mother stared at him like she could not understand what she was seeing. A human soldier. A warrior from the most feared species in the galaxy, giving candy to children and complimenting their bravery. Commander Vexari watched this interaction with growing confusion. Nothing was happening the way it was supposed to. Humans were supposed to be cold, ruthless, violent. They were not supposed to kneel down and give sweets to little girls. Captain Morrison, he said carefully. May I ask you something? Jake turned to face him. Of course, Commander. Ask anything. The stories say that humans are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. They say your ships have conquered entire systems. They say your soldiers feel no mercy. Vexari paused, searching for the right words. But you do not seem like the creatures from those stories. Why? Jake was quiet for a moment. His dark eyes grew distant, like he was looking at something far away. The stories are not wrong, Commander, he said finally. Humans can be everything those legends say. When our people are threatened, we fight with everything we have. We do not stop. We do not surrender. That is true. He stepped closer to Vexari, and his voice dropped lower. But we are more than warriors. We are parents who love our children. We are doctors who heal the sick. We are teachers and farmers and artists and dreamers. War is something we do. It is not all we are. Then why does the galaxy only see the war? Vexari asked. Jake smiled sadly. Because that is what people remember. No one tells stories about the human doctor who spent her whole life helping others. No one remembers the human captain who gave his food to refugees even though he was starving. They only remember the battles, the destruction. He looked around at the frightened Kelthian crew. I understand why you are afraid of us, he continued. If I had heard those stories all my life, I would be afraid too. But I hope that today, we can show you something different. I hope we can show you who we really are. Dr. Katie Reyes had moved closer to some of the crew members. She was examining an older Kelthian who had a bandage wrapped around his arm. This wound is infected, she said gently. How long have you had this? The old Kelthian stared at her in shock. 3 days. Our medical supplies are limited. Katie nodded and opened the bag she carried. I have antibiotics that should help. May I treat you? The old Kelthian looked at his commander. Vexari nodded slowly. Katie cleaned and rebandaged the wound with quick, practiced movements. Her hands were steady and sure. When she finished, the old Kelthian moved his arm experimentally. The pain is already less, he said in wonder. Katie smiled. The medicine works fast. You should feel much better by tomorrow. Across the cargo bay, Ryan Cole was entertaining a small group of curious crew members with stories about Earth. He described blue oceans and green forests, mountains covered with snow and deserts painted in red and gold. The Kelthians listened with wide eyes, fascinated by this strange planet they had only heard of in nightmares. Commander Vexari watched it all with a growing sense of wonder. These humans were not monsters. They were people. Strange and powerful and dangerous, yes. But also kind. Also gentle. Also good. The ship's alarm suddenly blared to life. Jake's expression changed instantly. The warmth vanished from his eyes, replaced by something sharp and cold. What is that? He asked. Vexari checked his communicator. His face went pale. 6 ships just dropped out of faster-than-light travel, he said. They are broadcasting Crimson Syndicate identification codes. Ryan Cole's hand moved to the weapon at his hip. Katie closed her medical bag and stepped back. Jake Morrison stood very still. When he spoke, his voice was quiet and calm. But there was something underneath it. Something that made Vexari's blood run cold. "The pirates who attacked the Dawn's Hope," Jake said. "They have come back." And suddenly, Commander Vexari understood why the galaxy feared humans. He was about to see the other side of them, the side that knew only war. Captain Jake Morrison moved through the airlock and onto his ship with a speed that seemed impossible. One moment he was standing in the Kelthian cargo bay. The next, he was gone, his boots pounding against the metal deck of the USS Defiance. Ryan Cole followed close behind him. Katie Reyes paused at the airlock door. "Stay here," she told the Kelthians. "Stay in the center of your ship, away from the outer walls. We will protect you." Then she was gone too. Commander Vexari ran to the bridge with his crew following behind him. They needed to see what was happening. They needed to understand. The main viewing screen showed 6 ships, arranged in a curved formation. They were ugly vessels, painted in dark red and covered with weapons. The Crimson Syndicate was the most brutal pirate organization in this sector. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who resisted. A communication signal came through. A face appeared on the screen. It was not human. The creature was reptilian, with yellow scales and black eyes that held no warmth. This was Krath the Merciless, leader of the Crimson Syndicate. Well, Krath said. His voice was like grinding rocks. "A human battlecruiser. I was hoping you would come. My wall needs new decorations." The channel split, showing the bridge of the USS Defiance on the other half of the screen. Captain Morrison sat in the center chair. His officers worked at their stations around him. Everyone moved with calm. Practiced efficiency. "Krath," Morrison said. His voice was flat, empty. It carried no emotion at all. "You attacked a civilian vessel. You killed innocent people. Women. Children." Krath laughed. It was a horrible sound. "They were weak. The weak exist to serve the strong. That is the law of the universe." "No," Morrison replied. "That is your law, and it ends today." Big words from a small man. Krath leaned forward, his black eyes gleaming. "I have 6 ships. You have 1. My crews are the most vicious fighters in 4 systems. What do you have?" "I'm never." Morrison was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke again, and his voice dropped to something quiet and cold. The temperature on the Kelthian bridge seemed to drop 10 degrees. "You have 30 seconds to retreat. This is your only warning." Krath stared at him. Then the pirate leader burst into laughter. His entire bridge crew joined him. 30 seconds! Krath howled. "You hear that? The human gives us 30 seconds. Kill them all. Take the Kelthian ship. I want slaves." The communication ended. The 6 pirate vessels began to move, spreading out to surround their targets. On the viewing screen, the USS Defiance came to life. Vexari had seen warships before. He had watched military exercises and historical recordings. He thought he understood what ship combat looked like. He was wrong. The Defiance did not move like a normal vessel. It twisted and turned through space like a living creature. Its engines burned bright blue as it accelerated to speeds that should have been impossible for a ship that size. It did not try to keep distance from the enemy. It flew straight into the middle of them. "Weapons free!" Morrison's voice came through the open channel. His words were calm, almost bored. The Defiance opened fire. Beams of burning light shot from its weapons arrays. Missiles launched from hidden tubes along its hull. The first pirate ship took 3 direct hits before its shields could even activate. It exploded in a ball of orange fire. The other pirates scattered, but the Defiance was already among them. Lieutenant Danny Park sat at the weapons station, his hands moving across the console faster than Vexari's eyes could follow. Each shot found its target. Each missile hit exactly where it was meant to hit. "Target 2 destroyed," a female voice announced. "Navigator Megan Torres." Her tone was professional and steady, like she was reading a shopping list instead of counting deaths. 2 ships gone in less than a minute. Krath was screaming orders on the pirate frequency. His remaining 4 ships tried to coordinate an attack. They launched everything they had at the Defiance. Hundreds of missiles and energy beams filled the space around the human battlecruiser. The Defiance did not even slow down. Its shields absorbed what they could. Its point defense systems shot down what they could not. The ship twisted and rolled, dodging attacks that would have destroyed any other vessel. When a missile did get through, it struck the armored hull and exploded against metal that was designed to survive impacts that would shatter planets. Engineering reports shield power at 80%, another voice said. Chief Engineer Lisa Vance. We can take this all day, Captain. Let's not. Morrison replied. Danny. Priority targets. Their weapons systems. Yes, sir. The Defiance's guns fired again. This time they aimed for specific points on the pirate ships. Weapons arrays exploded. Missile tubes melted. One by one, the pirates lost their ability to fight back. 3 more ships died in the next 2 minutes. Their wreckage spun off into the darkness of space. The final pirate vessel tried to run. Its engines flared as it turned away and attempted to escape into faster-than-light travel. They are fleeing, Vexari said. He expected the Defiance to let them go. The battle was won. There was no need for more death, but the human ship pursued. Navigator Torres, Morrison said. Intercept course. Already calculated, Captain. We will catch them in 40 seconds. The Defiance surged forward. It was faster than the pirate vessel. Much faster. Within moments it was alongside the fleeing ship. Morrison opened a communication channel to the pirate vessel. You are going to stop your engines and surrender, he said. His voice was still calm, but now there was something terrible underneath it, something ancient and cold. If you do not, I will destroy you. If you try to run again, I will find you. There is nowhere in this galaxy you can hide from us. The pirate ship's engines went dark. Its weapons powered down. Slowly, it came to a stop. Wise choice, Morrison said. On the Kelthian bridge, no one could speak. They had just witnessed 6 armed vessels destroyed or captured in less than 5 minutes. A human crew of perhaps 200 had defeated forces that numbered in the thousands, and they had done it so easily, so casually, like it was nothing special at all. Commander, Teresa whispered. Did that really just happen? Vexari nodded slowly. He was shaking again, but not from fear this time. He felt something else, something he could not quite name. Morrison's voice came through the communication system. Commander Vexari, the threat has been neutralized. We are prepared to proceed with the rescue operation. The Dawn's Hope is still waiting. The captain's tone was warm again. Friendly. The cold killer who had just destroyed 5 ships was gone. In his place was the kind man who had apologized for startling them. How do you do that? Vexari asked before he could stop himself. Do what, Commander? Change. One moment you are gentle. The next, you are. He could not find the right word. There was a pause. When Morrison spoke again, his voice was soft. We do what we have to do, Commander. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. Sometimes that means being kind. Sometimes it means being something else. Another pause. The important thing is knowing when to be which. Vexari looked at his crew. Teresa, Dokrel, Pell, the others. They were all staring at the screen where the USS Defiance floated among the wreckage of its enemies. The colony ship, Vexari said finally. The Dawn's Hope. How can we help? Morrison's response was immediate. Follow us, Commander. There are people who need saving. The Gentle Current's engines hummed to life. The small trade vessel fell into formation behind the massive human battlecruiser. Together, they turned toward the drifting colony ship and the thousands of lives waiting to be rescued. Vexari sat down heavily in his command chair. His hands were still shaking. He finally understood why the galaxy feared humans. And he was beginning to understand something else too. Something much more important. The Dawn's Hope was a dying ship. Its hull was torn open in a dozen places. Emergency lights flickered weakly along its corridors. Bodies of the dead floated in the sections open to space, but in the deeper parts of the vessel, where the survivors had gathered, there was still life. Over 2,000 Kelthians huddled together in the darkness. They had been drifting for almost 2 days. Their water was nearly gone. Their air was running out. They had sent a distress signal, but they did not know if anyone had heard it. Then the humans came. Commander Vexari watched through the viewing screen as the USS Defiance extended docking tubes to the colony ship. Human crew members poured through, carrying supplies and equipment. They moved fast, but they were careful, gentle. Dr. Katie Reyes was the first to reach the survivors. She found them packed into the main cargo hold, sitting in the dark because the lights had failed. Children cried softly. Adults stared at nothing with empty eyes. The old and weak lay on the floor, too tired to stand. Katie did not waste time with fear or hesitation. She knelt beside the nearest injured person and began to work. "It's okay," she said softly. "Help is here. You're going to be okay." More human medical staff arrived behind her. They spread out through the crowd, checking injuries, handing out food and water, wrapping blankets around shivering shoulders. They worked without rest, moving from patient to patient with tireless efficiency. One old Kelthian woman grabbed Katie's hand as she passed. "Are you angels?" the woman whispered. Her voice was weak. Her eyes were clouded with age and exhaustion. "Did we die? Are you here to take us to the next world?" Katie squeezed her hand gently. "No. Grandmother, you are alive. You survived. And we are going to make sure you stay that way." The old woman began to cry. Katie held her for a long moment, letting her weep against her shoulder. In another section of the ship, Ryan Cole led a team carrying food supplies. They found a group of children gathered in a corner, too scared to move. Their parents were gone. Some were dead, others were lost somewhere else in the damaged ship. Ryan set down his supplies and sat on the floor with them. He did not tower over them. He made himself small, approachable. "Hey there," he said. "Are you kids hungry?" The children stared at him with wide, frightened eyes. "I know I look scary," Ryan continued. "But I promise I'm not going to hurt you. I have food here. Good food. And after you eat, we're going to help you find your families. Does that sound okay?" Slowly, carefully, the children began to move closer. Ryan handed out food packets and water bottles. He told them jokes and funny stories about Earth. By the time he finished, some of the children were actually laughing. Captain Morrison worked alongside his crew. He carried boxes. He helped move injured people to medical stations. He did not stand apart giving orders. He was there in the middle of it, sweating and tired like everyone else. A Kelthian mother approached him. She was holding a baby in her arms. The baby was not moving. "Please," she begged. "My daughter. She is so cold. She stopped crying hours ago. Please help her." Morrison looked at the tiny body. His face did not change, but something shifted in his eyes. "Come with me," he said gently. "Our doctors are the best in the galaxy. If anyone can help your daughter, they can." He led her through the crowded corridors to where Katie was working. The doctor took one look at the baby and immediately began treatment. Morrison stood beside the mother, one hand on her shoulder, while Katie worked. 10 minutes passed. 20. The mother wept silently. Then the baby moved. A tiny arm waved weakly in the air. A soft cry filled the room. The mother collapsed against Morrison, sobbing with relief. He held her up, his arms steady and strong. "Thank you," she whispered over and over. "Thank you, thank you, thank you." Morrison said nothing. He simply held her until she could stand on her own again. Commander Vexari saw all of this. He walked through the colony ship and watched the humans work. He saw them carry the old on their backs. He saw them share their own food with the hungry. He saw them hold the dying and comfort the grieving. These were the monsters of the galaxy. These were the creatures everyone feared. And they were saving his people. Hours passed. The rescue operation continued. Human engineers worked to repair the colony ship's critical systems. Human pilots transferred the most badly injured to the Defiance's medical bay. Human crew members worked until they could barely stand, then kept working anyway. Finally, near the end of the operation, Vexari found Captain Morrison sitting alone in a quiet corridor. The human looked exhausted. His uniform was dirty. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. Vexari sat down beside him. "Captain," he said, "may I ask you a question?" Morrison turned to look at him. Despite his exhaustion, he smiled slightly. "Of course, Commander." "Why?" Vexari asked. "Why do you do this? Your species could conquer the entire galaxy. Everyone knows this. Your ships are faster. Your weapons are stronger. Your soldiers are better. You could take everything, rule everything. But you do not. Instead, you come to the edge of nowhere to save people you have never met. Why?" Morrison was quiet for a long time. He stared at the wall across from them, his eyes distant. "On Earth," he said finally, "there is a very old saying. It goes something like this. The measure of a civilization is not in how it treats the powerful, but in how it treats the weak." He turned to face Vexari directly. "Humans are strong. You are right about that. We can fight. We can kill. We can destroy anything that threatens us. But that is not why we exist. That is not our purpose." "Then what is your purpose?" Vexari asked. "To protect," Morrison said simply. "To help. To make the galaxy a little bit better than we found it." He gestured at the corridor around them. "Every person we saved today, every child we fed, every life we protected, that matters more than any battle we have ever won. The universe is dark and cold and full of things that want to hurt the innocent. Somebody has to stand against that darkness. Somebody has to be the light." He smiled again, and this time it was warm. "Real. Humans choose to be that light. Not because we have to, not because anyone asked us, but because it is right. Because when you have the power to help, you have the duty to help." Vexari felt something change inside him. The fear he had carried all his life, the terror of humans that every Kelthian learned from childhood, it began to fade. In its place, something new grew, something that felt like respect, like admiration, like hope. "The galaxy has been wrong about you," he said quietly. "All these years, we saw only the warrior. We never saw this." Morrison shook his head. "We are both things, Commander. The warrior and the healer. The destroyer and the protector. That is what makes us human. We have the capacity for great violence. Yes, but we also have the capacity for great love, and love is always stronger." The rescue was completed by morning. The Dawn's Hope, with its damaged engines now barely working, limped toward the nearest friendly port. The USS Defiance escorted it the entire way. The gentle current followed behind, its small crew forever changed by what they had witnessed. Teresa stood at her station, watching the human battlecruiser fly ahead of them. Its hull was scarred, its weapons still gleamed dangerously in the starlight. It was still the most terrifying ship she had ever seen, but now she knew the truth. That ship was not a weapon of conquest. It was a shield. Commander Vexari joined her at the viewing screen. "What are you thinking?" he asked. Teresa was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. "I am thinking that the galaxy has been wrong about humans for a very long time. We called them monsters because we feared their strength. But we never understood why they are strong. And now," she turned to look at him. "Now, I understand. Humans are not strong because they can destroy. They are strong because they choose not to. They have the power to take everything. And instead, they give everything. That is not the behavior of monsters, Commander. That is the behavior of heroes." Vexari nodded slowly. He thought about the terror he had felt when the red alarm first sounded. He thought about his shaking hands and his racing hearts. Then he thought about Captain Morrison holding a grieving mother, about Ryan Cole giving candy to a child, about Katie Reyes healing the sick and comforting the dying. Perhaps, he said finally, the most frightening thing about humans is not their capacity for violence, it is their capacity for love. Because when you threaten what they love, there is no force in the universe that will save you. Teresa smiled. And when you need their help, there is no force in the universe that will stop them from giving it. Ahead of them, the USS Defiance flew on through the stars, a ship of war sailing toward peace, a weapon that chose to protect instead of destroy. The galaxy would always fear humans, but now, at least 2 Kelthians knew the truth, and someday, perhaps, the rest of the universe would learn it too.